Or do you do background checks?
Oh, yeah.
You do.
Anyone over 18?
Can I ask you a question, follow up on that?
Yes, ma'am.
What happens when someone's arrested in the housing authority, Mr. Whitfield?
A tenant or a
They evicted?
guest?
Are they evicted?
Depends on the arrest. If it's a guest, chances are we'll put them on the no trespassing.
Okay.
And then we advise the tenants to give the police a call. We're not police officers. If it's a tenant, depending on the magnitude, if it's a drug or something like that, they'll get a notice that they have to leave. New Jersey has one of the most lenient housing laws. They actually call it the anti-eviction statute. So we don't have the authority, as they did back in the 50s and 60s or 40s, to go into a house, take the belongings, put them on the curb, and lock the door. That's against the law. We have to, before anyone's evicted, go to court, build our case, and the judge. Yeah. But a drug, if we get notice that there was an incident of drug, even paraphernalia on the property. So if you're a tenant, you have a guest in there arrested with drugs, and we're notified, we can give a notice to cease, notice to quit, which is a 3-day notice because of drugs. Then we have to go to court and allow the due process to continue.
And you have a fairly good working relationship with the police department, that they frequently notify you when there's an arrest,
Yeah.
so to speak.
They,
You have a police officer on your board, right?
that's correct.
Correct. So
And,
to follow that up one step further, so if you had domain over Section 8, you could limit somebody from hopping out of the housing authority and going into Section 8 in town. Yes?
Yeah, I don't know why we go from one federal program to another.
Well, presently, our understanding is people leave one and go into another.
They can, if they owe us any money.
They owe you money.
They're not going to go anywhere else.
Right.
We've had tenants that leave public housing to get into Section 8, only to realize that all of a sudden they have utility expenses they have to pay and look at coming back. Sometimes they're allowed back in, sometimes they're not. Sometimes people leave public housing into a Section 8 program, and there's less oversight with the Section 8 program. Community service is not required, so there's nuances with Section 8 public housing that aren't the same. And some people leave and they like it. Some people want to come back, but it's all a preference. But the RAD program is something that the feds came up with, Congress and HUD, to address the poor needs of low-income housing in the United States. So that's why we're looking at the Section 8 program.
Last question. Should we be approved for the RAD program? It's my understanding that we are looking at building better housing facilities for the residents of our community that currently live in.
If we're approved for RAD, it'll allow us to address a number of capital needs without letting the cat out of the bag too much. There is a development that I would like to, currently exists that I would like to actually eliminate a number of the units. HUD has to have the approval of that. We'd like to downsize that and actually create a little bit more open space there. Because of the infrastructure, there's the underground hot water and heat. It's one of the things we like to actually, I hesitate to say this publicly because I don't want to get people that are living there to, upset that they're going to lose their place. We're looking at possibly tearing some units down and reconstructing new units. So similar to what Easton did over on South Side, they had a Hope 6 project. This is a RAD project. But that's off in the future, because if we are approved for RAD, first thing we have to do, we'll probably hire a consultant for a planner to do it right. I did talk to the mayor, about the possibility of developing that whole parcel, which at the time he was interested. That remains to be seen if we can do something like that. But then we have to go through the full-blown application process, which we'll have to do a physical needs assessment of all of the properties, hire an engineer to come in and tell us what our capital needs are for the next 20 years, and then proceed forward. But we'll have to do an energy audit also, because all part of this is trying to save money And, you know, and hopefully we can with energy saving improvements. You know, we're looking at solar, we're looking at a number of things, but that's really, you know, down the line a little bit. So.
Excellent. I don't have any questions. Does anybody else on the panel have questions for Sean?
Yeah, just one more question. Something that came up to me when we were discussing some of the other possibilities earlier. Would you be able to achieve the same result entering in a shared services agreement with town as opposed to transferring the overall authority as we could with the county or with the state?
Well, with the county or state, we're going to lose, you know, local control.
Right. But rather than actually doing a transfer of the actual units, could we partner with that group to create a shared services agreement so that everything would stay the same in terms of the management, but they would be your administrator for
So the town will continue to manage the 210 units, the ones that are in a shared service?
Yeah, is that a possibility?
That's a possibility, an
Okay.
option, yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council President.
Yes, please.
So thank you for your patience. Mine's quick. I'm trying to recall from last meeting whether any of this is under a deadline for you or your authority.
I wouldn't say a deadline. We're waiting on the application with HUD, so I wouldn't say there's a deadline. Obviously, you know, I would say the quicker we get it, the more we can get involved with the you know, with the administration of the program and really figure out what's going to happen in terms of personnel. You know, those questions still have to be addressed if and when we get it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, is there any more public discussion on the agenda items? There seeing none, we can move forward with the payment of bills. And Lori?
Regular bills list as of June 12, 2018, capital fund $80,725.66. That's the total regular bill list as of June 12. Section 8 payments for 2018 is zero. Total prior council meeting bills as of June 12, 2018 is $2,812.50. Total prepaid bills list for June 12, 2018 is $83,538.16.
Okay, so
I guess at the prior council meeting, the entries bill was
They were
looked at
tabled.
and
Yes, and
discovered there was
CFO
an
Martin,
error until
yes.
it was reinstated.
I'd like to make a motion on table that bill.
Second.
roll call?
Councilman Lutz,
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo,
Yes.
Councilman Bay,
Yes.
Council President Bolger.
Yes. So then we would need a motion to
Make a motion.
make a second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Councilman Lutz,
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo,
Yes.
Councilman McVeigh,
Yes.
Council President Bolger.
Yes. Okay, we have no ordinances for second reading. We do have ordinances for the first reading, which would be ordinance number 2018-10, an ordinance amending the code of the town of Phillipsburg by amending the riverfront redevelopment plan, section 3.9, entitled District 6, Riverside Commercial, to permit storage of waste disposal containers and trucks in the zone.
I'd like to make a motion, we table this.
I'll second.
So since there's discussion, Councilman, do you mind if I ask why the motion's a table?
Well, I just heard something from Mr. Morissette stating that they do not want LMR to do any of the waste disposal containers and trucks in the zone, if I heard him correctly. And I don't think that that's right. I mean, if he's entitled to deliver the containers and stuff.
Right, well, that's us, that's what this is. We're actually overriding that this evening.
This doesn't say overriding.
Well, what we're doing is we're rezoning. So if we vote on this, it completely, and correct me if I'm wrong, council, but when we vote on this, we are overriding the planning board's decision to not allow it. So if we don't table it and vote on it this evening, then we are allowing LMR to conduct business by rezoning. We're not adhering to the land use board's decision.
But all we got was this line here. It doesn't say anything. We don't have any written thing about it, the resolution.
The resolution is,
It's in the packet.
so it is here.
Yeah, but we just got this tonight. We did not get it.
Right, well, we got it from Stan, both Stan and Rich went through it and sent it to us. And that's why it came in today, this came in from Stan, and then was approved by Rich. The only thing I would say, Councilman, and I implore the panel, I mean, I believe that we have some issues that have continued on. I am absolutely in favor of overriding the land use board's decision to allow LMR to operate. I do think that it would be beneficial to the town of Phillipsburg to allow them to continue their business. We should be business friendly, and quite frankly, I'm not sure why the land use board decided what they decided. However, I can tell you that I disagree. I've spoken to Mr. Collentrell. I believe he's an upstanding citizen, an excellent man. To just so we know what kind of man he is, I spoke to him over the weekend on a completely non-related topic where he had reached out to me because I had reached out to him 2 weeks ago, and he has donated the bins to the VA, to the on Marshall Street, to the Bernie May, to allow them the use of his containers free of charge. I do believe that he will be a good neighbor. I do believe that LMR is the exact type of business that we want to attract here to Phillipsburg. And I do believe that if we don't table this and vote on this evening, it will be beneficial to both Rob Contrail, LMR, and the town of Phillipsburg.
So we're saying that District 6, Riverside Commercial.
Yes,
District 6 is down on South Main Street.
that is correct.
Okay. And I withdraw my tabling it. You withdraw your second?
I don't. The reason I seconded was simply because of what I stated earlier during the planning board. The redevelopment plan specifically addresses this and does include it as part of the redevelopment plan to add it back in. So I'm not sure why we need this if we're going to adopt the redevelopment plan that already allows them to operate.
So there's questions on the redevelopment
So
plan,
how does
which,
that work?
That's, I didn't know what the
Right.
I wasn't at that meeting.
so there's questions on the redevelopment plan, and there's a family being invited here next week when we go to hear the redevelopment plan, and there's questions that we needed from Stan.
We're hearing it again?
We are.
Okay.
Okay, which was originally the original plan, but we ended up having a public meeting and no one could speak before council. So the next time we have a meeting on the redevelopment plan, they'll be able to come
So
in.
this is just.
So this is just for LMR, and
Oh, so it was
that's,
a presentation.
that is correct.
Okay. Okay.
So you're gonna cancel your table?
You made the motion to table, so you took away your first, so thereby wipes out my second.
So we can, okay, so since he withdrew the motion,
Yes.
we need a motion to vote on ordinance number 2018-10.
I'll make a motion.
I will second. Is there discussion?
If I recall correctly, the recommendation that we got from the planning board recommended that we not adopt this change to the redevelopment plan because there were multiple ordinances that were inconsistent with the conducting of the business on Main Street. And I apologize, I don't have the document in front of me, but do I recall correctly? Anyone?
Mr. Morissette is on the planning board, he can answer your question.
Was it, yes, I believe we got that as an attachment to the recommendation from the planning board here about a month and a half ago. And this is completely off of recollection, I could be entirely wrong.
Sure. Councilman, I couldn't answer that question, I could just stand by the statement I made about 2 minutes ago.
The other, I understand council's enthusiasm for a business that's going to be a good neighbor, but what troubles me is that they started operating on a handshake for something that was specifically not permitted, and I do feel like that there are some double standards in terms of what we accept as being lawful and what's being unlawful. I would ask council to remind council that just about a week ago, we didn't permit Mariana's to have alcohol at the Old Town Festival, even though they followed the process, did everything legally, and to the best of our knowledge, there were no other applicants for that position. And here we are possibly paying our engineer to retroactively amend our redevelopment plan for business to start doing business, technically unlawfully at the time.
Councilman,
Go ahead.
if I may, the reason that we, if you recall, the reason that we had rejected the social permit regardless was because the majority of this council did not agree with the use of liquor at Riverside.
I think there were multiple points that were raised. It just, I feel like we have some flexible standards in terms of what we're encouraging and what we're not encouraging.
I understand, Councilman. I'm a very flexible person.
If I may say something too?
Yes, sir.
I believe the handshake was with the mayor,
Yes.
said that he can open it, he can run his business there, so
I think we would all agree that that's not the way that we want to conduct business.
Which is why, right, which is why we would vote on this evening. I do believe that this would be, and quite frankly, I can tell you that if the mayor were here, I've already heard his opinion, and his vote would be no. And he's not here this evening, so.
Then the only action I would ask is that specifically, can we amend this ordinance to contain the provision that there will be, the actual storage of waste will not be permitted at any time?
Well, I believe they'll be inspected, Councilman. I think that as much as I understand, I think it goes without saying that this is what we expect. Joe, if you wouldn't mind, I am speaking, and I would ask you to please keep your comments to yourself until the appropriate time. Okay, that's all I'm asking. Thank you. Now I lost train of thought, and I apologize. I think. Again, I apologize, Joe. Again, I would ask you not to do that because I had lost train of thought in the middle of a conversation because it's hard for me to speak to my colleague while you're speaking, okay? We do have rules and decorum, okay?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I understand.
Did not realize
I caution,
it was that loud.
I could hear you and I accept your apology. Councilman Davis, I will yield to you.
Yes, my recommendation was that in order to protect the town in the future, while our intent right now is that, and our understanding is that no physical waste will ever be allowed to be stored, I think it would benefit us to actually have that written down in the ordinance to make it crystal clear in terms of what's permissible in the zone.
I think he said that in the very beginning, there will be no overnight storage.
It's not written here.
Right, well, I understand your point, Councilman. And although a valid one, I still would like to move forward with this vote this evening.
So we can amend the ordinance tonight and pass it.
It's got to have 2 readings anyway.
Mr. Contrell's here this evening. I did just see him actually. Mr. Contrell, will you be storing waste?
Absolutely not.
You won't. Do you have any problem with us amending the ordinance to, we can, Councilman?
Storage of empty.
Storage of it. So we will amend it to, for under section 2391, under section 8 of storage of waste disposal containers, we will amend to storage of empty waste disposal containers. Does that work for you, Councilman?
Yeah, so did you make the motion or do you want me to?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll make that motion.
Yeah, and just further that empty waste disposal trucks as well.
Do you have empty waste disposal trucks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't have to call me sir, but thank you. Okay, so motion to accept as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we will vote on ordinance number 2018-10. Roll call.
Councilman Lutz?
Yes,
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Councilman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Fulfer?
Yes, motion, ordinance number 2018-10, ordinance amending the code of the town of Phillipsburg by amending the riverfront redevelopment plan, section 3.9, entitled District 6, Riverside Commercial, to permit storage of waste disposal containers and trucks in the zone is hereby passed as amended for its first reading. Councilman McVeigh, I apologize. I believe I may have skipped you in the middle of discussion. Did you have something to say before we move forward?
Well, since we are past the ordinance, I don't know if you want me to do,
Do you want to sway my vote, Councilman?
No, I don't. All
Okay.
I want to do is further our support for you and your business. I've heard some stuff, some conversations going on, and it's an understatement to say that you will be a good neighbor. I know the mayor had a shake hand agreement, and I do agree with Councilman Davis and even Mrs. Morissette by saying any business, organization, division, party, whatever, to start to put things in process prior to any council or approval. I agree with both of you, but I wholeheartedly disagree with that. But that was not really the case here. Just want to make that clear, and I'm looking very forward to having you on town.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next resolution is Resolution 2018-103, which was tabled on June 4th, 2018, which is a resolution of the town of Phillipsburg transferring Section 8 housing to the Phillipsburg Housing Authority. I would need a motion to untable.
So moved.
Let's see, a second. You want me to second? I'll second. I will second. So, discussion on 2018-103, resolution of town of Phillipsburg transferring Section 8 to the Phillipsburg Housing Authority.
Yes, but I think we need to vote on the untabling.
We will, let's vote on untabling then.
Discussion on the table.
Can I get a roll call vote for untabling?
Sure can.
Thank you.
Councilman Lutz.
No.
Councilman Davis.
No.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo.
Yes.
Councilman McVeigh.
Before voting, we can discuss, we're going to be for a discussion?
That's correct.
Okay. I then, if I wanted to, I could motion to table if I wanted to.
You
For
could.
the discussion.
You could.
Yes.
Council President Fulfer.
Yes. So the motion to untable resolution 2018-103, the resolution of the town of Phillipsburg transferring Section 8 housing to Phillipsburg Housing Authority has been successfully untabled. I will then open the floor for discussion. To panel.
If I may.
You may.
I voted not to untable because I don't think we're at a point where we're ripe for voting yet. As Mr. Rummerfield was so kind to incline us with some more information, I think we need to further explore the possibility of having the shared service agreement. The reason for and I have been actively communicating with him. I apologize, I meant to do it earlier, but my son was ill at the end of the week last week, so I was a little bit limited on time.
Does he feel better?
He just had stomach flu.
Then
It's gross, but
that I can understand.
but he's better. So the two things that, and we're obviously not discussing the RAD here tonight, but I think that it's important in terms of the actions that we set in motion as a council. We consider the implications for the town. So as he alluded to, there's two formats for the RAD, and the one that has been applied for is the voucher-based program as opposed to the project-based rental assistance. Since I haven't been rice notice, we won't talk about the employees, but I'm happy with the town-based Section 8 program. I haven't heard any complaints about that, without speaking specifically about any employees or their performance. My primary concern with the voucher-based format of the RAD is that there is a mixed income requirement that is initially grandfathered for the units, but under the federal statute, only 50% of the units in the voucher-based program are allowed to be subsidized, with some specific exceptions for disabled, elderly, and families receiving services. I'm not sure, because we don't have that final plan, if we set this in motion and they end up going to the PDRA because of some other complications, whether we set something in motion that ultimately wasn't necessary and possibly interrupting a process that's worked very well for the town. My recommendation would be that we retable this evening until we further explore the shared service agreement and I finalized my understanding of, and explored a little bit further with Mr. O'Brien, the voucher-based first, project-based rental assistance programs.
Thank you for your comment,
Thanks.
Councilman. Councilman Lutz, did you have a comment?
No, I just think we're, like Councilman Davis said, we're kind of rushing into this. We don't have all the facts. Number one, I'm not for it. I'll tell you that right in the very beginning. I feel that our Section 8 has been running very, very well. No hesitations, no questions, no disagreements. And I feel it should stay that way. And that's my concern. Thank you very much.
It's respectable, Councilman, thank you. Council Vice President DiGirolamo.
Absolutely. So, well, Josh said something I wanted to address, but, sorry,
Councilman
Councilman.
Davis.
Just wanted
You
to
can yell
address
at her, Councilman.
that. Regarding Councilman, this Councilman, so we don't say names. I don't think you mind, but I know the other councilman at the other end of the table does, so
He knows his
I have to point now.
I'm sorry I mentioned
I haven't had-
Councilman Davis.
I haven't had dinner, can we move on?
One of the items, now I've come to council meetings for quite a long time, and actually one of the things we heard repeatedly over the last 2.5 years was how poorly the Section 8 were not inspected. They were behind, they were poor conditions. We listened to renter after renter after renter talking about the deplorable conditions. And when we look at those Section 8 payment plans, my goodness, a lot of people are on that list. Honestly, I think we've all seen an improvement throughout the housing authority on the property. It's very well maintained. I'm comfortable on the maintenance side. I see that as actually a solution to what people have been complaining about for over 2 years. That I've listened. They could be complaining longer, I'm not sure. I'll address the ethical concerns. So actually, I addressed that before I was elected. It is not an issue. I am not married to Paul Rummerfield. I am not a commissioner. And last time I checked, there's no conflict with the mayor voting to have contracts with Board of Education. So unless that's a conflict and he goes to jail, I'm not going to jail. I think that covers the ethics complaint.
Well, can I rebuttal on?
And actually, I have the state law right down here if you'd like to read that.
Well, I'm restraining town ethics, and under business organization definitions for possible ethics.
You sat here for 8 years. You're familiar with the process.
I understand,
Thank you.
but I
But,
also,
Bernie.
there was times where we let people rebuttal when they had the opportunity.
No, we didn't. Bernie, I would politely request before anybody starts arguing in the audience, again, council has the floor, we've had time to speak. Council DiGirolamo, Council Vice President DiGirolamo has the floor, and I did say vice. I'll call her president whoever she likes. Please proceed, and I apologize.
That's all in here. No, that's okay. So I think I addressed the ethics issue. Actually, I'm not opposed if Councilman Davis is wanting to explore some type of shared service or time to allow to get more information. I'm not at all opposed to that. If we'd like to bring that back up to further discussion. I know the councilman missed the meeting where we had someone come in to discuss the program in great detail and go over a few case studies. So I think if he'd allow us, I think we could bring in a few more people to discuss the program and successes and any issues that have come up and go through Phillipsburg and tell us if they think it would be a good idea and get an outside opinion. I think that would be okay.
Councilman McVeigh? Unless would you like to rebut, Councilman?
No, but I just wanted to state as a clarification, in general, I'm not opposed to the implementation of RAD. I think it's an excellent program for the housing authority to leverage the assets they have into a long-term finance plan and gives them tools that otherwise they wouldn't be able to in order to manage the infrastructure and the capital assets that they have. Specifically, the short-term implementation and the pathway that they choose, that I want to make sure that we get it right to make for the success of Phillipsburg.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman McVeigh?
Yes, thank you. I have three things. One is the ethics. It's the, I'm hearing this tonight, so I would like further clarification, 100% clarification on that we're good on this? I mean, if that can be provided tonight, great. If it can't, I'm just raising that as my first point.
I would defer to the councilwoman who has spoken to Attorney Winter on it. However, if there was a vote and it was later determined that there was a conflict, then the vote would obviously be tainted. But that's her obligation to determine whether or not she's going to step down upon whatever advice she received from the actual township council.
He said it's fine, Bob.
Which I understood they discussed, but I was not a part of that discussion.
You're pretty good.
Man, he said something too.
I know, I've never heard James.
Try to keep it like that. Run smooth.
With that, like I said, I would be the biggest hypocrite in the room if I didn't at least bring that as my first point. Two, when I asked Mr. Romerfield, a very important question for me was about the timing of this, because if this was something that had to be handed in by, the old stamp, postage stamp on a certain date, I would step up to the plate and make my decision. With there being no time constraint, that's also furthering me pushing me to my decision of, which I get to in a second. And third is, I personally on council, I've been involved in a very large undertaking of my time. I haven't missed a meeting yet, and I've never asked for this while at the table. I've never even asked for even some extra time. Every issue that's been brought before me, I've read, I've fit the time in somehow, I've done it. But this is something that is, I think, of grand proportions, and something that I don't want my name echoed for years, good or bad, or whether way I decide to go on this decision. So with that being said, in the words properly said by Mr. Tidman, I don't want to act hastily. So after you speak, Council President, my recommendation probably will be to table this, but I'll wait till you speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Romerfield, we are not on a time constraint. I believe Councilman McVeigh did state that, correct? I did a lot of research over the past week and this weekend, and I did actually walk through the new, well, I guess you would call it a new housing development, right? It's the new housing projects, is that what you would call them, on Elm Street? And I did speak with a couple of your tenants, and I did so because I wanted to know more about how the I'm sorry, Mr. Meyer, did you call me crazy?
I said I'm freezing.
Oh, I thought you called me crazy. I thought you called me crazy. I was all excited. I've been known to be called other things. I thought you said I was crazy. Poor guy, it is cold in here. So I did speak with a lot of the tenants, and I got to tell you, it was heartwarming to listen to what they had to say, and the majority of them, while not happy with the current living conditions because of the building, because of the no ventilation and the mold, they had nothing poor to say about it. 90% of them had nothing poor to say about the housing authority, but let's face it, no matter where we go, someone says something poor, correct? The majority that I spoke with, after I explained and showed them the flyer, and I see they would have welcomed something like that here in the town of Phillipsburg. Now, we are in a very peculiar position because I feel like after the past week I've been placed in a